I think it's about personal realization. I've been here for 31 years, and in the 31 years that I've been here, a lot of my free time has been spent in the outdoors. I grew up that way as a kid, and I have become like my grandparents or my uncle who said to me, you should have seen it, when I was a kid. And I can actually mark the change. I can see how things have gone away. But with technology, we can see how quickly things really have gone away and the level of magnitude to which they have gone into non-existence. So bringing that to an audience is sort of the important thing for me. Making a project that deals with nature and art that enlightens the viewer, sort of in both a literal and a subliminal way, has always been a desire I've had. So, if we're going to make things that look like salmon or steelhead, the project is an installation that crowdsources art to show that community is concerned about the global state of our environment. It's about the essence of the fish. It's about coming into a room and seeing, 2,000 flashes of silver that have sort of that shape, and that's it.
This is a perfect project to demonstrate what art should be about, which is getting people talking and getting people thinking about a real issue that is important. And for this part of the world, there is very little that is more important than the natural environment. And to have a project with an artist, with a maker, with a craftsperson like Joseph is, that again promotes a real dialogue within a museum space, within a gallery space, that's what an art museum should be all about.
TU's interest in this project is really that we feel strongly that we can rebuild wild steelhead populations in numerous watersheds throughout the Pacific Northwest, including here in Puget Sound. And so one of our interests in this project is just reaching out to the broader community of folks that live here in the region, whether they're anglers or not, and engaging them in conservation, because everyone really has a role to play in creating this future where we can have wild fish that are abundant enough to fish for and really preserve that aspect of our culture.
When Joe came down here to work with us at the museum, somehow it came up immediately that he was a fly fisherman and that we were fly fishermen here, both Gabe and myself, and now Sarah's come along and has gotten into it a bit. And most people, they look at us on the floor and they figure we're talking about work, but usually we're talking about food, or in this case, fishing.
Hard to hook, even harder to land.
We know that we're trying to make something that has the shape of a fish.
Good. Make it look like a fish.
Now swing it just a little bit.
I think my involvement here has been a bit of a sounding board for Joe as he's talked through this project with us. And working here at the museum, my involvement is helping facilitate getting some of the fish made.
The way that I'm getting the glass community involved is by asking others to help get the glass community involved. So then we, as a group who believe in exposing this to a large audience, are approaching the glass community.
If you look down on the back, it's rounded and it's slightly tapered on the bottom.
If I were going to say who's the perfect candidate, it's anybody who's put a piece of salmon in their mouth.
You ever had a can of sardines before? Well.
The pitch is that people will make these objects across the globe and they will send them for exhibition, first at Bellevue and then other venues, finishing up at the Museum of Glass in Tacoma.
We tried to really distill the form of a salmon into a very simple shape. And we basically made a bubble that was slightly narrower than the shape and tried to flatten it on 3 sides. The result was the basic form of a salmon or a steelhead. I really don't want to be literal. I want this, since they're going to be silvered, to have the appearance of the form. When you actually see a fish in the water, a fresh fish in the water, you really don't see the fins. You just see that flash of silver.
I think you stretch the front of that, you're gonna have a steelhead.
We're going to try a few different ways so that a variety of makers across the country, and maybe even the world, make them, and they'd all have a similar look and feel.
One thing that just from looking at some of the pieces that have already been made, they're all just a little bit different. Everyone has its own unique characteristic, its own unique shape, and to me that really speaks to the life history diversity that steelhead have. And what that really means is it's the way that they adapt to the environment and what gives them their resilience to persist through habitat alterations and climate change and all of the factors that are inhibiting their productivity. And one of the things that we really try to highlight is how important it is to conserve that life history diversity. And that's really how we're going to maintain these fish into the future and how they're going to adapt to a changing world. And so that aspect of the project and really highlighting that to people is very important to us.